The courtroom was packed that morning. The air felt heavy with judgment, whispers cutting through the silence like knives. At the center sat a man handcuffed, eyes hollow, wearing the weight of every false accusation ever made against an innocent soul. Beside him, his young daughter stood up slowly, clutching a torn notebook against her chest. Her voice trembled at first, but then it grew strong, sharp enough to pierce the hearts of everyone in the room. "My dad is innocent," she cried. For a moment, time stopped. The gavel froze mid-air, lawyers exchanged shocked glances, and the judge leaned forward, stunned. The entire courtroom fell silent. No one expected the truth to come from the one person they had ignored, the little girl who had watched her father's world collapse piece by piece. But what she was about to reveal would make the whole court panic, and expose a truth so dark that it would shake the very foundation of justice. Her name was Alina, just 12 years old, yet her eyes carried the kind of sadness that only life's hardest battles could carve into a soul. Her father, Marcus Hill, was once a respected mechanic in a small southern town. Known for his kindness and honesty, Marcus was the kind of man who fixed a neighbor's car even when they couldn't pay him right away. But everything changed one stormy night when police lights painted his house red and blue. They barged in, shouting his name, accusing him of a robbery, an assault that left a local businessman hospitalized. The evidence seemed stacked against him: a glove with his fingerprints, a witness who claimed to have seen him running from the scene, and money supposedly found hidden in his garage. He swore he was innocent, but no one believed him. Not the police, not the community he had served for years. Alina watched her father taken away in handcuffs, her mother screaming until her voice broke. The next few months were a blur of fear, confusion, and courtroom appearances. Marcus's appointed lawyer barely spoke to him. The prosecutor painted him as a violent man, desperate for money. The story was simple, believable, and easy to swallow. A black man from the wrong side of town losing control. But Alina didn't believe it. She knew her father's soul better than anyone. She knew the way he prayed before meals, the way he worked extra hours to buy her school books, and the way he always said, "The truth doesn't need defending, it just needs someone brave enough to speak it." So she began searching. Late at night, while her mother cried herself to sleep, Alina flipped through her father's old phone records, receipts, and photos. She noticed something strange. The time of the robbery didn't match her father's work logs. His time card at the auto shop proved he was there when the crime happened, but the paper copy mysteriously disappeared from the office. Someone had erased it. Then she found something else, a note left in her father's toolbox, written in shaky handwriting: "Don't talk. They're watching." Alina didn't understand what it meant at first, but soon the truth started unfolding in front of her. Someone had set Marcus up, and that someone wasn't just a random person. It was a man her father once trusted with everything. She couldn't let him go down without a fight. She began writing everything she discovered in her notebook: names, dates, details no one bothered to check. When the day of the verdict arrived, she decided she would speak, no matter who tried to silence her. The courtroom was tense. Reporters whispered among themselves, and Marcus sat motionless, staring at the floor. His lawyer whispered, "Don't say a word," while the prosecutor prepared to deliver the final blow. Just as the judge began to speak, a voice broke through the silence. "Your Honor, please." It was Alina. She stood up from the second row, trembling but determined. The bailiff moved toward her, but the judge raised a hand, curious. "What do you wish to say, young lady?" "My dad didn't do it," she said, tears filling her eyes. "And I can prove it." The courtroom erupted. Cameras clicked, lawyers objected, and the prosecutor shouted, "She's just a child." But Alina opened her notebook and began to read aloud. She described how her father's time card was missing, how the CCTV camera near the auto shop was mysteriously disabled the same night, and how her father's coworker, Daniel Cross, suddenly bought a new car days after the robbery. She had gathered photos, bank statements, and messages Daniel sent her father, messages begging for money to pay his debts. When Marcus refused, Daniel swore he'd make him pay. The judge motioned for silence, now visibly shaken. "Do you have evidence of this?" he asked. Alina stepped forward and placed her notebook on the desk. The clerk examined the pages filled with meticulous notes, photocopies, and times. It was all their evidence that had never been brought to light. The prosecutor's face turned pale. The defense attorney, embarrassed, flipped through the documents and muttered, "I didn't even know these existed." The judge ordered a short recess to review everything. While the room emptied, Marcus looked at his daughter in disbelief. "Alina, how did you? I just followed what you taught me," she whispered. "To never stop until the truth comes out." When the session resumed, the courtroom atmosphere was electric. The judge's tone had changed completely. "Mr. Krause," he said, calling the coworker to the stand, "you've been mentioned in connection with this evidence." Daniel's eyes darted nervously. He stammered, denied. But then the pressure broke him. He confessed. The robbery was his idea. He'd stolen from his employer, panicked, and planted the evidence in Marcus's garage, knowing police would believe the story easily. He never thought a little girl would dig deep enough to expose him. Gasps filled the courtroom. The prosecutor sat stunned, while Marcus buried his face in his hands, tears streaming down his cheeks. The judge's gavel slammed down. "This court declares Marcus Hill, Innocent, but what happened next made everyone in that courtroom panic, because Daniel's confession hinted at something far bigger. I wasn't the only one, he said, trembling. Someone told me to frame him. Someone powerful. The revelation sent shockwaves through the entire courthouse. Reporters rushed to their phones. Lawyers whispered in disbelief. And Alina clung to her father, as if afraid he might disappear. But the judge wanted answers. Who told you to frame him? Daniel hesitated, eyes darting toward the prosecution table. It was the detective. Detective Warren. He promised to make the charges go away if I helped pin it on Marcus. The courtroom exploded in chaos. The same detective who led the investigation, who claimed the evidence was airtight, was now being accused of corruption. Officers moved to remove Daniel from the stand, but he shouted over them, "Check his accounts. He got money from the businessman who was robbed." The judge immediately ordered an inquiry. Within hours, hidden transactions surfaced, payments made to the detective just days before Marcus's arrest. The puzzle fit perfectly. The entire case had been a setup to protect the real culprit, the very businessman who was supposedly the victim. He had faked the assault and used the detective to cover his embezzlement scheme. Framing Marcus to distract attention, the court was in uproar. The judge called for immediate custody of both the detective and the businessman. The prosecutor resigned on the spot. Alina's mother collapsed into tears of relief, while Marcus fell to his knees, overcome with gratitude and disbelief. But the true hero stood small and silent. Amid the chaos, a 12-year-old girl, who refused to let fear silence the truth. When the gavel came down for the last time, the judge stood and addressed her directly. "Young lady, today you reminded us that justice is not blind. Sometimes it just needs the eyes of the innocent to see clearly." Outside the courthouse, news cameras surrounded Alina. Her words went viral overnight. "I just wanted my dad back," she said softly. "I didn't want revenge. I just wanted people to see who he really is." Weeks later, Marcus was officially cleared of all charges and returned to his job. But things were never the same. People who once turned away from him now approached with apologies. The police department launched a full investigation into internal corruption, and the story of the brave little girl who stood up to the system became a national symbol of courage. Yet, deep inside, Alina carried one quiet realization: justice isn't given. It's fought for, word by word, truth by truth, until the lies have nowhere left to hide.